Hello and welcome to RSBN. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We have a lot to get to today. And speaking of today, it's primary election day for the following states: Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, and the state of Washington. But here's the upcoming schedule for this week and into September as well. So tomorrow, President Trump will travel to Nevada, where he'll highlight the working families' tax cuts and other accomplishments during a speech in Las Vegas. Of course, you can watch that speech right here on RSBN. On September 9th and 10th, the RNC Midterm National Convention in Dallas, Texas. And then on September 24th, the Chinese President Xi Jinping to visit the White House. And those are just a few of the various events that are happening over the course of this month into next month. And we'll also highlight some of the upcoming primary election dates as well in just a second. Meantime, in case you missed it, President Trump spoke from the Oval Office yesterday while establishing the first of its kind Presidential Military Spouse Commission. Let's take a look at clip number one.
America cannot have the strongest military in the world without the love and devotion of our remarkable military spouses who make the extraordinary sacrifices for our country. They really are extraordinary. Many military spouses spend months separated from their loved ones while our heroes are deployed overseas. Military families also endure frequent moves and other unique challenges, and the challenges are legendary. They write books about them. This commission will provide recommendations for improving the quality of life for military spouses so that we can better support both our military families and the entire United States Armed Forces. The Commission will develop suggestions to address particular challenges in housing, employment, healthcare, education, childcare, and just about everything else you can think of. We've never had this opportunity. We're doing it now because we've done a lot for our military. We love our military. Every day our administration is fighting to give our military families the support they dearly need and they deserve. As part of the great, big, beautiful bill, we provided hundreds of millions of dollars for military child care and improved housing on military bases. It's being built, much of it's being built right now.
We come to this place for MAGA, to fight, 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 and win, win, win. Because we need that, all of us. The indescribable feeling we get when we hear the national anthem, and stand together stronger than ever before. Under this administration, we're going somewhere we've never been. We aren't just watching history, we're making it. Rebuilding our country better than ever. A country where we don't do heartbreak, we do victory. An America that is safer, more secure, more prosperous, and any setbacks that stand in our way simply makes the comeback that much sweeter. Welcome to the Golden Age.
All right, so we heard the president just yesterday, and then he took a ton of questions from the press and had some name calling with some of the fake news, in the sense of just calling them fake news, MS Now and all of that. Quite the back and forth yesterday. But, you know, a lot of times we're seeing the president, answer those questions from the press, very transparent in the sense of the access to this president, compared to, remember, Joe Biden, the press would be asking questions and he would just sit there and smile and wouldn't even entertain any of the questions at all. And then he'd be ushered off into the next room. So quite the difference as we see here with the 47th Commander-in-Chief. Now, let's go over once again some of those remaining primary election days leading up to that November 3rd election. Now, we obviously know today there are a number of states that are having primary elections as well, including Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, and Washington State. And then for the rest of the states out there, August 6th, so this week, Tennessee, August 8th, Hawaii. On August 11th, the great state of Alabama, specifically U.S. House Districts 1, 2, 6, and 7. Most of the other Alabama races were May 19th. Of course, the great Tommy Tuberville running for governor in Alabama. Also on August 11th, Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin will have primary elections. On August 18th, Alaska, Florida, Wyoming. August 25th, Oklahoma will have a runoff. And then September 2026 on September 1st, Massachusetts, September 8th, New Hampshire, September 9th, Rhode Island, and September 15th is Delaware. And then, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that September 9th and 10th dates for that RNC midterm national convention in Dallas, Texas. So a lot of dates upcoming for the primary election dates. Speaking of elections, let's go over something that we've heard from the White House over the past few weeks, but something still to be highlighted, especially as we get ready for this November 3rd election, which is slowly getting here. August, September, October, and there we are. Let's go to a few statements from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue regarding our elections. Quote, "For years, fake news and other bad actors tried to convince you that we had safe and secure elections when that clearly wasn't a reality. America must continue to fight for honest elections and properly functioning voting systems. Our nation depends on it. The U.S. election system is broken." This all per the White House. Here's what the disclosures reveal. Again, this is from President Trump's national primetime address from a few weeks back that, of course, the mainstream media decided not to cover. Hundreds of millions of American voter files in the hands of foreign governments. Voting machines and ballot counting systems exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other adversaries actively trying to meddle in elections. Evidence of fraud being buried, hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and even dead people still active on voter rolls. No voter ID, no proof of citizenship required. Tens of millions of mail-in ballots floating unsecure. And this is why everyone's saying, at least the majority of the country, are saying to pass the Save America Act. Make it the Save America law. That's something that a lot of people want to see out there. All right, so we have a number of interviews coming up throughout this broadcast today. We're going to get to all of that here in just a second. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on RSBN.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Great sponsor on Right Side Broadcasting Network, MyPillow. Of course, we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy in the meantime. Being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription and the medication that you need. Instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. Now, whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medication, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. Just complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use code RSBN10 to save 10%, or call 561-717-6794 and speak with a real person who can answer your questions. And of course, all people are real, but at the end of the day, sometimes we make a phone call and it's an AI agent on there. So you're not going to have to deal with any of that with All Family Pharmacy. Great sponsor here on Right Side. Let's go to our next one. You don't wait until your house is on fire, of course, to install a smoke detector. And you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And of course, you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact. Because after the crash, the hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. Within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. So diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. We've got the persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. So we don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step. You can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost and no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold Group. You can trust them too. All you got to do to get started, text Trump to 989898. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for live streaming today, and of course sharing the link with your friends, your family, as we cover the White House, we cover DC politics, and of course a lot of news within that 24/7 news cycle. And then we get to bring in a number of great guests, including the next one, a conservative host and founder of Courage is a Habit, Alvin Louie. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us once again here on Right Side.
Matthew, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Yeah, you too, man. I'm glad there are people like you out there that just really know how to cut through the woke barrier mindset with just such a way to do it. You do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I mean, we could start there. Let's start with that. I mean, isn't that what it's all about, is really dissecting and detoxing the minds of the youth as well, because these educators have been corrupting so many people.
It absolutely is. This is why the organization really is called Courage is a Habit, even though it's focused mainly on government K through 12 and even private schools. But because our philosophy is so much of the issues that are happening in this country is because people have made fear a habit. So right now, you've got people who are afraid to say, we do not want certain types of people in this country. We want a closed and secure border. People are afraid to say that. How is that possible? And then the people who are traitors in this country are freely just march around wearing anti-ICE shirts and supporting violent illegal aliens. How come they're so emboldened? It's because our side, they've moved people. And I want to say our side. I don't talk about Republicans. I'm talking about regular, good-hearted people. They've made them afraid to say the most basic things, like a man can't be a woman. And so this kind of brainwashing, obviously, like you said, it is in K through 12. This is what they're doing to children from kindergarten all the way through high school. And then, of course, they activate them in college. But so many adults, American adults and parents, have been brainwashed themselves. And what we want to do is we want to create these tactics and tools and mental training so that parents see past all the emotional blackmail, like embrace exclusion, reject inclusion and embrace exclusion, which you see right here and on my hat and everything. And it's because we believe that things like clothing drives culture, and our side doesn't do that. We think facts alone is going to matter when it's really story and culture. And this is why courage is a habit. We push so hard on these kind of mental tools.
You know, I was looking the other day on X, and I saw this, you know, the Democrat Socialists of America. I saw some Marxist United Party or whatever.
Oh,
It's
sure.
some wild stuff, man. What do you think about all that?
It's just escalation. It starts with be kind, mind your own business. It's just inclusion. It's just compassion. It's just helping your neighbors. All the things that
Yeah.
a good person would say.
Emotional blackmail.
Emotional blackmail. That's all this is. It's just emotional blackmail, or as we call it in Courage is a Habit, language contamination, where they use your vocabulary but not your dictionary. And so because of that, that was their entry point into instilling fear. So it was, don't you have empathy? And you go, well, yeah, for my own friends and family, but not for illegal aliens. And all of a sudden, oh, you're a racist. So it was always very dishonest. And inclusion is the biggest dishonesty of all. Inclusion and empathy is the biggest Trojan horse of all. So now when people stay silent, they can now step it up the ladder. And now you've got the socialist. They call themselves democratic socialists, but it's socialism, communism is all the same. It never changes.
Yeah.
And so now it's about, oh, you're white. You don't have an opinion because you're privileged. Now it's, oh, you're white. You got to give up your second home. Oh, now it's white. You got to give up your first home. Oh, you're white. You can't hand anything down to your children. And so this is just a step up. And this is not, they're not done. If we don't make courage our habit and start saying the things that they say we can't say, they're going to keep on doing it until your children are destitute. That's the final end game. So really, our biggest advice for everybody is very easy. If they say you can't say something, that's your clue to say it more. They're telling you what they're afraid of. So if they say you can't say that, you can't say illegal aliens because that's dehumanizing, then you better dehumanize as much as you possibly can, because they're telling you their weakness.
Yeah.
And that's the best advice I can give like an average person
that's
trying to fight
beautiful.
this.
I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, if they're just saying, yeah, you're not allowed to say that, or you can't say that, or you're calling it a certain thing, hate speech or something. No, that's against the freedom of speech. That's our Constitution. So if they don't like it, they can please go to another country, maybe, because at the end of the day, we're not talking about any threats of violence, none of that. I'm not talking about that kind of speech, but I am saying if I feel like saying something, I should be able to say it and not have the whole crew out there, whatever, the socialists, get up in arms about it. Anyway, so I'm hearing that there's this media literacy curriculum being taught in America's schools, and it's not about teaching students how to think, but instead, which part of it there? Is it how to think, what to think? Can you elaborate on all of that?
It's actually neither. Media literacy in government K through 12 and colleges, it's about where to go to get your propaganda. It's not about even how to think or what to think. So media literacy, just like social emotional learning, just like be kind, sounds great. And that's why they're really good at picking these terms that in itself doesn't enrage anybody. It doesn't create any red flags. And so, because who doesn't want media literacy? Media literacy, if you say it to a normal person and they define it, they're like, well, media literacy probably means if you read something, don't just take it for don't just take the headline, read the article, really dive down, see where they're getting their source, that kind of stuff. But media literacy in government K through 12, and by the way, for all your wonderful listeners to your amazing show, I ask you to go to your state Department of Education or your district website and type in media or digital literacy, and you will see it. It is already very, very much saturated into your schools. In some states, it's even a graduation requirement. But they all get their media literacy from the same source. We are on Courage is a Habit. If you go to courageisahabit.org and go to search and type in media literacy, you will find a tool where we expose an organization that teaches teachers on how to teach this. And at the most basic level, media literacy means teaching your kids to only go to the legacy media for their information. And they deem that credible source.
Wow.
Credible sources.
Wow.
Now,
So
our latest one that we
form
just
of-
released.
Another form of brainwashing then.
This is another form of brainwashing, but they're telling your children, hey, if you hear something on Matthew Alvarez's show, it's dangerous misinformation. Don't even look into it.
Right.
What we should be telling kids is don't believe NBC, don't believe Matthew. Just go look it up and really dive into it yourself. That's the true
Exactly.
nature of critical thinking.
Right.
But so our latest one is on a general, we expose media and digital literacy. And more importantly, we expose a woman named Renee Hobbs. Now, people like her are, in our opinion, one of the most dangerous people in the country simply because no one knows her name. Nobody's heard of her organization. They see the jumping lunatics like Randy Weingarten, the teachers' unions, and Becky Pringle, and there's these jumping lunatics, and they suck the attention from most people, whereas people like Renee Hobbs, she's in government. She's training government officials, professors, teachers. So let me put it this way. Renee Hobbs is not going to run in front of ICE and get herself killed. She's not that kind of useful idiot. She's not Renee Good. Renee Good's a useful idiot. They'll sacrifice her life so that they can create a narrative. Renee Hobbs is a lot more dangerous because she's teaching teachers to teach your kids to be Renee Good. Wow. She's teaching teachers to teach your kids to be the useful idiot. Wow. And she can sit quietly 3 layers under. So we brought her up. We've used her own words to show you how radical she is. And she is a huge, huge player in driving media literacy curriculum for your K through 12.
That's unbelievable. This is why a lot of people are saying, I want school choice, or they want to do homeschooling because they got to get out of this corrupted education system. Not every teacher is corrupt across the union, but I believe the majority are. You know, it's just awful to see that. Alvin, can you hang tight for us for 1 second?
Of course.
Awesome. Let's go to a couple ads here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue on with our live coverage here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Specifically, let's take a minute to speak to all the parents watching today. It's officially, of course, the dog days of summer. And if your house is anything like ours used to be, that means the dog sprawls out on the coolest tile floor he could find, refusing to move for anyone. And it seems our dogs tend to run the house. And honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Well, here's a fun fact. Our founding fathers were the exact same way. Turns out long before they were founding a nation, they were the original dog people. Tails wagging in the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on the important documents, probably. Our founders love their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. And with America's 250th birthday, what better way to get kids excited about history than through the goofy, loyal, tail-wagging companions who were there for it all. So our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, and also another perfect kind of keepsake souvenir, because once you request that copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Message for Today. It's really a must-read for every child. So during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com right now to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. Let's move from this sponsor to this one. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Of course, the great Mike Lindell running for governor in Minnesota. That August 11th primary election date getting closer and closer. But outside of that, great products there as well. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Use the RSBN promo code to get quite the discount. And also, check out all of these awesome products. And we're talking, I think it's a mega sale 2.0 that's happening right now. So mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, let's go back now to our conservative host and founder of Courage is a Habit, Alvin Louie, back here on the broadcast. You know, Alvin, there's so many things to talk about. I mean, last week, how about Fauci pleading the fifth a bazillion times? Your thoughts about that lunatic?
Well, people like him do the damage, and then people find out, and everyone gets outraged. What I really want to encourage people is, unless you're in a position to make sure someone like Fauci spends his life in prison, you should focus on what our enemies are doing today. The problem that I see is that the good people, or conservatives, Republicans, however you want to call it, we're always about 5 to 7 years behind. But the damage is already done. When we find out that BLM's a scam, buy large mansions, but the damage is already done. The same thing with Fauci, damage is already done. So what happens is, because we get distracted by this, our enemies are currently planning on something that we won't find out for 5 years and go, oh my God, in 2026 and 2027, they did this. Well, what were we doing in 2026, 2027? We're screaming about Fauci. This is why we hit people like Renee Hobbs, because Fauci would not be nearly as effective at all, actually, if it wasn't for people like Renee Hobbs, which nobody hears about because she's the one who, her organization and people like her are the ones who craft the media narrative. So we can blame NBC and CBS and CNN, but those anchors are only reading from a teleprompter. Who's writing the teleprompter? And who's teaching your kids that? That's happening right now. That's what they're doing to your kids right now in school, K through 12, and in college, of course. So don't send your kids to college unless you have a very specific reason why. So we want people to focus on what's happening now rather than getting distracted. Because no matter how outraged you are, you normal people cannot do anything to bring Fauci to justice. We can pressure, we can do all these things, but I'd rather people look at what's happening now and not get distracted. And then 5 years from now, we get outraged about what was done today that we missed. And then the damage is done. And then all of a sudden 2031, we're like, oh my God. And so we go through this rinse and repeat, and we're wondering why we keep losing the culture war, why we keep losing ground, even though we have Trump in office and you got the House and the Senate and all that. So this is why when we expose things like Renee Hobbs, it's not sexy. She looks like your chubby aunt that gives you candy from your purse. Not exciting. But these are the people that drive the narrative. They're the ones who drive the media and political messaging that allowed Fauci and all your woke white community women and men to drive that narrative in COVID back then. And she's still doing that now. Now, what we discovered is that she doesn't want to be handcuffed to Fauci at all. She's definitely afraid of that. She wants to be as far away. She wants to just pretend that, oh, that was just, it's just a right-wing conspiracy. He did a good job. But we had exposed how much she worshiped him in her own words, calling him an American patriot, a hero. She was the one who taught everybody to counter any anybody who didn't like Fauci or saw that he was lying back then in 2020, 2022. And so she wants to completely distance herself from him, and we're not going to let her do that.
It's all this information that we're seeing, and who is pulling the strings of the puppets, right? Or where's this all coming from? At the end of the day, it just is that good versus evil thing that you're not going to hear on the mainstream media, are you, Alvin?
No, and they don't want your kids to hear it. Hence the media and digital literacy. They don't want data. So do this exercise for me, everybody watching. It's been about 6-7 days since the Fauci diary came out. Ask your friends and family members who are not on X, who doesn't watch Matthew, ask them, have you heard of the Fauci diary? They'll either tell you, no, I haven't at all, or I have, but I think it's just mostly right-wing conspiracy trying to get him because they don't like him. He saved a lot of lives. He's a hero. So even though people get really excited on X because of that explosion of the diary, by the time it reaches out to that lady walking around your grocery store, it becomes like a whisper. And that's media literacy. That's defined in K through 12. They want your kids to only go, and your friends and family to only go to legacy media. And because they don't look at alternative media, then they'll never get the truth. I'm not saying that alternative media is always correct. That's impossible. Everybody's wrong sometime. But the shows like yours, you're not lying to people on purpose. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And you say you're wrong. Just like us, right? If we're wrong about something, we go, hey, we got this part wrong. But the legacy media is part of a wider left-wing government entity and globalist entity that's trying to destroy your life. That's a very, very different apparatus. And that's what media literacy is to drive your kids towards that apparatus.
It's so wild. I like how you said that. Another part of leftist government, in a way, that so-called fourth estate or whatever. No, it's very true. All right, so Alvin Louie, thank you again for joining us, the founder of Courage is a Habit. Where can people find your work, man?
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. It's always a pleasure to see you, and thank you to your team for always having me and being so kind to me when I get on. So courageishabit.org. courageishabit.org is where our massive catalog is. In fact, if you're watching this anytime in early August, it'll be the tool of the week. Go click on Tool of the Week and you'll find our media and digital literacy. If you're watching this, maybe at the end of August, we'll obviously have another tool. You can type media literacy and you'll find what we just talked, Matthew and I talked about today. Our socials are at Courage Habit. So follow us, engage with us. We love to engage with our supporters. And we are a nonprofit. We have a very small team. We punch way above our weight. So anytime you share our tools, anytime you share a clip like I have with Matthew, or you donate $10 to us or buy a hat, it really does go a long way into helping us, get these tools into the hands of more parents across the country.
And it's awesome to see that. We need to have fighters like you, legally, lawfully, spiritually, helping in any way, and that's what you're doing. So thanks so much, Alvin, for doing that. Alvin Louie, founder of Courage is a Habit. Thanks again for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
You bet. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, there you go. Alvin Louie joining us once again here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, it's great to have people that are on the right side of history that care and they get the job done. And that is one of them right there, Alvin Louie. All right, let's go to a couple of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including All Family Pharmacy. You see it right there. Being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances before, this unexpected thing happens. Or really the question is, so why wouldn't we prepare a medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications you need. And instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. Now, whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, a respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. Just complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your door. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code or call them at 561-717-6794, and you can speak with a real person, not AI, but a real person who can answer your questions. All right, let's go from All Family Pharmacy to Birch Gold Group. You don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector. You don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. And you don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after the crash, the hurricane, or the house fire, it's just too late. Within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. Diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. You don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step now. And you can do that by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost, no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold Group. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898. Great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks again for joining us as we are continuing our coverage today. We do know that today is primary election day, specifically the states of Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, and Washington are having their primary elections today. And again, tomorrow, President Trump will be in Nevada. We'll have live coverage, of course. We'll hear President Trump's speech. He's going to highlight the working families' tax cuts and other accomplishments during that Las Vegas speech. So we look forward to seeing you here with us tomorrow, as we will have that coverage from Nevada. Joining us now on the phone is a great patriot and conservative host. Silk is joining us right now. Silk, thanks so much for joining us.
Just fine. Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. I'm glad you're here with us on RSBN. This is something that has gone years in the making, of course, having you here with Right Side and seeing your show out there, doing great. I'd like to ask you in a little bit about some of the stories you've been working on and some of the interviews you've had on your show. Before we get to that, there's two topics. One, the Save America Act. Of course, it's always good to bring it up and talk about. And then two, I'd love to hear your opinion on the pleading the fifth 5 million times by Anthony Fauci. So whichever direction you'd like to go, Silk.
Well, we talking about saving America, but we can't save America if somebody is killing Americans. I mean, look, it is what it is. How is it that Dr. Fauci is able to plead the fifth, and he said that that's his right, when they removed our rights to have autonomy over our own bodies? They mandated that people put poison inside of their bodies, okay, an experimental drug inside of their bodies, or you couldn't work, you couldn't fly, you couldn't travel. There's a lot of different things that you could not do. So it is really, truly insensitive. And it's also disturbing that we can have a mass murderer walking free. And I have to call it how I see it, Matt. I know people say, no, he's not the one, or say allegedly or whatever. You let me tell you something. This man is the one that was on the television every day back in 2020 telling people to do this, to do that. I advise this, I advise that. We got to understand and remember that he is the one that was over the NIH. He was the one that when Obama put a moratorium here in North Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to stop with the gain of function research they was doing here in America, that Dr. Fauci is the one that laundered that money to the Wuhan lab through Eco Alliance, I believe is who it is. Yeah. That money was laundered through Eco Alliance, okay, to the Wuhan lab to continue that study, and then to sit in Congress and lie, to sit on TV and lie. He said one thing about the mask and then turned around and said something else about the mask. This man was in it all the way from the beginning and before, okay? All right, even back, we can go as way back to HIV, how he lied to the public. He lied to the public, and that's exactly what he did. He also turned around and they censored American citizens, okay, from speaking out about this, from speaking out against it, and from sharing, just sharing your stories with individuals that could have helped save somebody else's life, all right? Then they took and shot down hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, different protocols that was already in the data, okay, in the paperwork to show, what you use against this particular type of what they call the virus. Also, Matt, we got to understand that this was a man-made bioengineered weapon, okay, that was used against we, the American people. This was being used against us. What do you call that? And then just remember that you had illegal aliens crossing our borders. They had the borders wide open with these illegal aliens. How many times did they tell them that they had to get tested? How many shots did they give to these illegal aliens? But they wanted to mandate that American citizens take and pump themselves up with this particular poison like they some type of pincushion, all right? Then they wanted you to get a booster after another booster. After lying to the American people, telling us if you get this shot, you won't catch COVID. Look, I can go all the way down the line. Then when I listened to Tulsi Gabbard and how she spoke about how Fauci, okay, was basically in cahoots with Big Pharma, all right, because they was trying to create all of this medicine and medication for a disease that didn't even exist. And now we see the stuff in the emails and different things. That means that Fauci colluded with Big Pharma to help create a problem so that they can say, okay, we found the solution for it, which is another vaccine, another jab. No, all of this stuff was made up from the get up. It's called a planned scam-demic. That's what they did on this country. Not only did they weaponize this pandemic, this planned scam-demic, not only did they weaponize that, they also weaponized our medicine, especially our insulin. After my sister Diamond passed away, my mother passed away, I had their insulin checked. The same junk that was in the COVID jab, was also in my mother and my sister's insulin. And I continue to call it out. They have finessed our Big Pharma, has finessed these drugs, the medication, and people are dying left and right, falling dead suddenly, and everybody is acting oblivious to why. And then you got this mass murderer sitting there pleading the fifth, and everybody want to just sit and look. Listen, Matt, let me calm down. I blame the media. I even blame our Congress and our Senate. I believe a lot of those people was in on this particular scam. It was a money laundering scam, and that millions of American citizens suffer today because they are either disabled or a lot of their loved ones are dead because of these protocols, these hospital protocols, and these mandates that our governmental officials put in place that really technically destroyed American lives.
Thank God for Secretary Pete Hegseth to reverse the mandate for the military. I mean, here's the thing that I'm thinking about, Silk. You know, I'm listening to you and I understand that not only have you seen it from afar, this has been something right on your doorstep. And the American people can resonate and understand that and feel that. I mean, think about it. Last week before Fauci got there and did this 111 pleading the fifths, well, all I know is this. So we're going along our week. You're going along your week. And then this stirs up so much of a memory of 2020 and the COVID thing. And then they messed us up for the election as well, using the mail-in ballots. There's so many awful, evil things that were done, Silk. So I hear you, and the people hear you loud and clear.
They used this as the catalyst to change the correct rules, to violate our constitutional rights to a free and fair election. It was all a plan way before COVID, we even knew anything about the word COVID. We are finding out that it was already a plan. Let me tell you something, Matt. If I myself was in a lab creating something that was going to be detrimental to somebody's health, to somebody's life, do you know that they will lock me up, throw away the key, and ask questions later? And what infuriates me is that Fauci walks around with a smirk on his face as if he's done absolutely nothing wrong, as if he's the innocent individual in all of this. And when I say that Fauci belongs in hell, then people look at me like, okay, so maybe you shouldn't say it that way. Well, how else am I supposed to say it? Okay, because like you said, I lived it. I was around it. They took and destroyed my sister and our relationship with a lot of different networks because they didn't want my sister and I talking about this. Yet they are the ones that came out and said that Black people were disproportionately affected by this particular virus, but they didn't want my sister and I as Black women to ask questions about it, to learn about it, to educate ourselves about what was going on. What they wanted to do was silence us. Is what they wanted to do. Now that my sister has passed on, I am still here. And that's one thing that happened. I want people to understand with my voice. A silence can be violent. I might have been silenced when my sister was here with my and my but guess what? Now you get to hear from Silk directly. And the way that I speak is just straight up, openly and truthfully. I don't choose to sugarcoat the truth because too much sugar can make you sick. And there's been so many people sick around here because the truth has been sugarcoated. Just listen to how the media, the lamestream left-wing and right-wing media, the way that they took and sat back and went along with this status quo. They wanted me and my sister to lie to people while we was on a lot of these different networks concerning COVID. They wanted to pay my sister and I to connect with some high powerful people whose names rhyme with Jamama. Okay, they wanted to connect us with those individuals to push other Black people in the Black community to influence them to take this poison. And my sister and I, we both said, hell no, we will not steer this country in the wrong direction. We're going to tell you all the naked, nasty, low down, gutter written truth. And that's why I'm so grateful for Right Side Broadcasting, for Lindell TV, for allowing me the opportunity to be on a platform to be able to speak the naked, nasty, low down, gutter written truth. I'm so grateful for that.
Because you're a woman of character, of discipline, of faith, of truth. And that's why you made the right decision. That's why you're on the right side of history. Silk, if you could hold for us for 1 second, we're going to go to a couple ads. I want to ask you about a couple things on the other side of this break. We'll be right back with Silk. This entire live stream broadcast brought to you by great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, you see Kalshi right there. A lot of political trending topics to choose from. So you could bet, you could trade, you could check out the polls, all right there at your fingertips on your phone, iPad, Surface, whatever you use, computer, that kind of thing, desktop. Just go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. The QR code's there, or you could download the app. Let's also go to Cove Pure. You know, most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. We smell it, we shrug, and then we drink it anyway, sometimes, because we're told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure, because chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. When chlorine interacts with those particles, it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens, and they've been linked to disruption of your gut and to cancer. So those pitcher filters that you get at the store, they won't fix this. They improve the taste of chlorine, but THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their clear wave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So there's a lot of great feedback we're hearing from the people that are buying Cove Pure, and of course there's a lot of great things going on with this product. All you have to do is go to covepure.com/RSBN. You'll get $250 off your order. We'll be talking a lot more about Cove Pure coming up. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go back now to the great patriot and conservative host, Silk. Silk, apologies for cutting you off there for the ads, but at the end of the day, you and I both know it takes money to keep things going. But the point is, though, back to what you were saying, these are very serious times when it comes to the accountability. Let's talk about the accountability and then the Save America Act before I let you go. There needs to be accountability for people like Fauci. You can't just let these guys run free.
Exactly. There needs to be accountability for people like Fauci, for people within the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, the NIH, the CDC, in these doctors in the hospitals, these protocols. There needs to be accountability. People are dying. People's livelihoods and life have been destroyed because of no accountability for these demons being allowed to continue to destroy America. So certainly, yes, most definitely, we're looking for accountability. But something needs to happen. And I know if you hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battles, victory shall be ours. I got that. And that's exactly what I have to rely on in my faith as I see how America is being destroyed left and right. People that we didn't even vote for is making decisions over our lives and our livelihoods. It is so sickening, Matt. But these people must, and they have to be held accountable. I just found out, even down to this birthright citizenship. People need to understand. We have the Democrat Party, Matt, that speak wholeheartedly about separation of family. They don't want the families separated, but they are okay with an illegal alien coming into our country, dropping their babies here in America, and then guess what? Those illegal aliens have to be deported back to their country. Isn't that separation of family? Who's going to raise that child? They put that burden on we, the American taxpayers, to fund babies. What about American babies? We need to be funding American children who's here. And so for them to go back and use laws that was created for slaves and then turn around and use it for illegal alien children. So you're making, what they're doing is making these illegal aliens the new slaves. I'm just going to call it out. They're making them the new slaves. Remember that the Democrat Party is the party of slavery. Okay. And this is what they are accustomed to, having people to enslave, to sell off. You remember under Jim Crow, Joe Biden, all of those thousands of children that they said that they lost. They didn't lose those children. They sold those children off. Sex trafficking, human trafficking, organ trafficking. It's a doggone disgrace. And at the end of the day, somebody's got to be held accountable. So I totally agree with you.
You know what, Silk? I was just thinking about a number of things. One, we know the end of the book. Thank God for the Bible. Yeah. Thank God that this is not just going to keep on, everything just, whatever, globalists get away with this and that. And no, there will be literal hell to pay when it comes to spiritual things, biblically speaking. But outside of that, Silk, last question for you is this. How have you been able to do what you're doing, going on camera for their show, talking to me here on Right Side, in front of a national audience? That's Right Side. That's what you're on too, with Lindell. So, but losing your sister, losing your mom, how do you personally just keep fighting on the way you do?
I refuse to allow the death of my mother, the death of my sister. I refuse to allow their life to be in vain. Okay. I refuse to allow their death to be in vain. Okay. I find it liberating when I'm able to come on these platforms and tell their side of the story, be a voice for the voiceless. Okay. If I go away, then you won't know the truth. All you will know is the narrative. And I refuse to allow the narrative that they put out there to be the actual truth about what actually happened when it came down, especially to Diamond. No. I still have a voice, and I am going to utilize my voice. And the way that I do it is by telling everybody the truth. I allow and have provided my platform to be utilized for other people to come on and tell their story, to tell their side of the truth, because a lot of people have been silenced. They've been silenced. And with them being silenced, it's like something has been brewing inside of these people. But then when they come there and they tell their side of the story, it's like a weight has been lifted off of them. So every time I get to talk about this subject, especially as it pertains to Fauci, the COVID, the way that they're doing our medication, it's like a weight that's being lifted off of my shoulder, because I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I need to do to educate people and let people know what's truly going on here in America, so that they won't have to believe the hype, and they won't have to believe the lie. So it's actually the help of God that's guiding me, guiding my tongue, and so that people can see, hey, this is what's happening. Y'all need to know about it. If you don't want to know about it, then hey, turn the channel, okay? But if you want to know about it, still gonna tell you the truth. The way that I have, no other way to tell the truth is just to tell you the straight, naked, nasty truth about the nastiness that's been going on here in our country. That's the only way that I can do it, with the help of God. I will not allow the death of Diamond to be in vain, and for these people to just take over our country and continuing to murder American citizens and blame cancer or blame kidney failure. No, it's these chemicals and these bioengineered weapon that they've created in a lab that they are utilizing to murder American citizens. And I'm telling people the truth about it. God has given me the opportunity to be educated about it. And now I want to continue to educate the public. I feel liberated, and I also feel vindicated whenever everything starts coming down a pipeline and we see the diary, we see the emails. Diamond and Silk was right way back in 2020 when they tried to shut us down. And I guess what? Diamond and Silk is still right, as the truth and the proof is coming out to the entire world today.
Long live conservative media, and against the mainstream media that's out there. Silk with a powerful voice and also content that's on the right side of history. Great patriot, conservative host, Silk. Thanks so much for stopping by. I love you, Silk. The country loves you. The mass majority of the country loves you. And hopefully more will add to that number as well. So thanks for telling it like it is.
Amen. Thank you. And God bless everybody.
God bless you. Thank you, Silk. It's great to hear Silk. It's almost like at least once a month I have to have an interview with Silk because she just goes there and just goes for it. And it's awesome to have that happen. All right, let's go to a few sponsors as we have a number of interviews to get to here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including freeusadoggift.com, freeusadoggift.com. Here's a fun fact. Our founding fathers, you know what? Turns out long before they were founding a nation, they were the original dog people, tails wagging in the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents. Our founders love their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. And with America's 250th birthday, what better way to get kids excited about history than through the goofy, loyal, tail-wagging companions who are there for it all. Our friends at The Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's really the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids, and they're giving it away for free at freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founder's Message for Today, a must-read for every child. So, during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com right now to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. We'll go to one more sponsor here on Right Side. It is right there, actually, specifically if you'd like to donate to Right Side. Just go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. All right, let's go to a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for joining us here on the network. Let's go now to Dr. Jared Ross to talk about Anthony Fauci, pleading the fifth 111 times last week, and also RFK Jr.'s recent interview on CNN. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us here on the network.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Definitely. So let's talk about a little bit of what we've seen out there. That RFK Jr. interview on CNN man, RFK, he's got all the truth on his side there, and then CNN didn't really like it, did they?
No, this really needs to not be about politics. This needs to be about truth. We like to think that in medicine that we can't afford to get things wrong, and we can't. But unfortunately, we do. We're human at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, what we need is the truth. We deserve the truth. And that's why we had these hearings, so that we could find out the truth and that we could make changes so this doesn't happen next time, so that we do a better job when this happens next time. And that's not what we got. That's not what Congress got. That's not what the American people got. And, he has immunity. He has a presidential pardon. I'm not a lawyer, but he's not in a position where he has to worry about getting prosecuted for these mistakes that he made. And there were clearly mistakes. And so instead, it's a time to be humble and say, we did the best we could in the moment, and this is what we could have done better, and this is what we did well, and to really take that time and reflect and have a true, truth and reconciliation about how we responded to this pandemic. And that's not to mention, how this could have been avoided or what caused this, but just to look at the response. That shouldn't be a political issue. That shouldn't be controversial. Just to say, how did we do? How can we do this better next time?
You are a doctor, correct?
I'm actually an emergency medicine doctor, and I'm in the hospital right now. I just stepped out of the ER. I'm in the ambulance bay right now. So hopefully an ambulance doesn't drive up and drop off a patient.
Loud and clear. But sir, this is something, first of all, I want to give you a hug, because you are it sounds like a conservative doctor that's outspoken. How many more of them are there? It doesn't seem like there's that many people out there that are outspoken like this. I'd love to have 20,000 more of you out there, watching over us, instead of those that are maybe woke and liberal. I'm sorry to bring in politics. I don't know how not to with this situation. Can you paint the picture for us a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately how academic medicine has really pushed this woke narrative on everyone. And I think at the end of the day, as a physician, our responsibility is to our patient, and our individual politics should stay out of it. We should just do what's best for our patients. But there's so much of this lack of willingness to question when it comes to these politically controversial issues. And so I think you're in good shape. I think there's actually a lot of doctors out there who feel the way I do. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us just aren't willing to speak out, and people face consequences for it. I've faced consequences. I've received death threats for some of the things I've spoken out on. But at the end of the day, you have to speak out for what's true. You have to watch out for the science, and watch out for the patients. Our obligation is to the patient first and foremost, and doing what's right by the patient. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I admit that, and I do it better the next time. And again, I try not to be wrong, but I'm not foolhardy enough to believe that I'm never wrong. I'm human. We all get things wrong.
So this is more personal and professional kind of aspect, and if you don't want to go there, that's fine. But my point is, when you speak up about these things that are more on the right side of history as a doctor, does your employer, they're cool with this? Is this something, I mean, usually you'd think when you're at various employers that are like a hospital, if you talk about conservative things or you're against what Fauci said, that's not a good thing to so-called do. Am I right or am I wrong?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the academic medical institutions want nothing to do with me. So you've got to work in rural health, or you've got to work in smaller independent hospitals.
Okay.
Because the university systems don't want any dissent. They don't want you to talk about any of these quote unquote controversial issues. It's a real problem. We don't have true dissent in academic medicine.
But this is the health of babies and kids and adults, and you guys are looking out for us. We pray, we pray in Jesus' name for a healing, but then also we go to you guys and we trust that you're going to give us what is beneficial for our body, our mind, whatever. And I just have, for me, it's been tough because we've all have people in the hospital and dealing with certain situations. And it's, for me, to be honest, man, it's really hard for me to trust all the medical facility things out there. So that's why I'm really happy to talk to you, because I'm like, wait, there's a conservative. That's cool.
I'm sorry to hear you're going through that. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to second guess your doctor. You shouldn't, whether it's a financial conflict of interest or a political or ideological conflict of interest. Yeah, I am a conservative, but does that mean I have a patient who's a liberal who walks in and I treat them any differently? No. At the end of the day, I'm not a politician. I'm not here to when I'm taking care of patients. I mean, I'm happy to get on TV and talk about political issues. Love nothing more than doing that. But when I'm taking care of patients, it's about what's best for the patient. It's not about the patient's political ideology. It's not about the patient's skin color. It's about doing what's best for that person in the moment, especially in the emergency department.
Exactly, but the thing is some of the practicing in medicine, of course, from the more of a liberal style of a doctor, is going to push something that is probably not good to, and I don't want to get into all of that. It's very sticky, dicey stuff, man, but I'm just so glad to talk to somebody that's in the industry. You're in the medical field and you're a conservative doctor. That's just, I'm happy about that, man. So do you have like other friends that are doctors that are the same way?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of physicians that, and certainly it's specialty dependent, right? We know that, psychiatrists and infectious disease doctors are definitely going to be leaning more towards the left. And we know that surgeons and anesthesiologists tend to lean towards the right more. ER is probably, as close to 50-50 as you can get. But again, I think a lot of people just try to keep their head down, avoid politics, avoid speaking out on controversial issues. And in academic medicine, in the universities and the medical schools, that's not the case. The case is that the left dominates that dialogue. And if you don't agree with them, you better, shut up or get out.
Yeah,
and
rough,
it's a real problem.
It is. Where can people follow you? Are you on social media at all, or?
Yeah, I'm very active on X, Dr. Jared Ross, and then just launched a new website recently, drjaredross.com. And I'd love to sit down with you from my home studio at some point and chat at length. I apologize. I'm just outside the ER here against a brick wall with my headset on, doing the best we can.
It's all good. No, you know what? Yeah, please, if you talk to your PR crew, have them hit me up and let's get that going for more of a sit-down interview. Even though you'll be afar wherever you're located there. Dr. Jared Ross, thanks again for joining us. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Definitely. That was awesome. Okay. Again, I get pumped about various topics out there, especially when it comes to medicine and people that are practicing it on the right side of history. And speaking of that, All Family Pharmacy, great American independent pharmacy right here. Being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications you need. Instead of searching only by medication name, you can now search by the medical condition itself. Whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. All you have to do is complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide you a prescription. Then your medication is shipped directly to your home. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use code RSBN10 to save 10%, or call 561-717-6794 and speak with a real person who can answer your questions instead of maybe an AI agent. AI is pretty cool stuff out there. I'm not 100% against AI, but I do talk about the fact that I'd rather talk to a real person any day of the week than AI. Anyway, let's move on to the next sponsor here on Right Side. You know, Birch Gold Group is specifically talking about a number of things, kind of like this. You don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector. You don't wait until the wind and the rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. You don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact, because after the crash or the hurricane or the house fire, it's just too late. Within that framework, you don't wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's just too late then. Diversify with precious metals now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Persistent inflation, a weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. You don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step. You can do that right now by requesting a free info kit on gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. Just text that word Trump to that number, 989898. There's no cost, no obligation, just straightforward information on how you can diversify your savings, even an IRA or a 401k with gold. We trust Birch Gold. You can trust them too. Text Trump to 989898. Great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're going to go to a few of our other interviews that we have here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Joining us now is the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club, Robert Burkhead. Robert, thanks so much for joining us once again, man.
Thank you, Matthew, for having me.
How is New York City doing? End of the question. That's it. How's New York City doing?
Another week, another fumble by our lovely socialist mayor. This week's issues, the mayor was supposed to release a list of constituents living in New York City that have a secondary home, and he was going to tax them at a ridiculous percentage to make up revenue. And he ended up publishing a list of anyone, particularly that lives in the 5 boroughs, that pays a certain amount of taxes on their property. So there are about 30,000 people on this list, of whom don't own second homes, and so it's chaos. There's rallies, protests taking place on Staten Island and all over the 5 boroughs. It's ridiculous.
I've been seeing with the New York Post, like I look at the Post, I like to stick with what's going on with New York City, right? So obviously the New York Post. There's also the California Post now, which is interesting. The point is, I keep seeing these articles about Mamdani and then the 9/11 memorial, the 25th anniversary coming up, and how people are like, we just don't want this guy around any of this stuff. Wasn't it the other day that he was at one of these events and he didn't get to speak and he got all mad about it or something? Like, what's going on there? It seems like people are just not respecting him, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman said it best. You know, when you're in an elected position and you're a leader, you're supposed to lead all people. You're supposed to represent all people's views and lead everyone and not pick on certain people. And his rhetoric lately is toxic. It's damaging to certain religious leaders, certain groups. And so he's creating this environment where I think people don't want controversy, and so they just have rather step aside and not given him the podium. I do think as the leader, listen, President Trump had him in the Oval Office, and people said, why did the president do that? You have to talk to leaders, whether they're dictators of countries or whether they're democratically elected, because you have to have dialogue to get things done. You can't shut people out. Doesn't mean that you support them or you believe them. I'm kind of on the fence with, I understand. We went through a tragic event. New York City resident. I was in the 7th grade, as we talked about when 9/11 happened. I remember it like it was yesterday, and we can never forget what happened. And his rhetoric sometimes is very damaging to his cause. And so I understand why families feel the way they do. I do think that he needs to tone down the rhetoric so he can, as a leader, take part in some of these events.
My, oh my, it'd be, we'll see what happens, coming up for that 25th anniversary. Hopefully it's just, a time of remembrance for the nation. This is quite the 25th year of remembering coming up. Before I let you go, sir, the thoughts on the video showing mass migration from Morocco to Spain. It's awful in a few spots over there in Europe. We've seen that on our southern border before. That is how things get spread, in the sense of crazy ideologies, crime, all the things. Have you ever been to Europe? I mean, what's your take on what you've seen in Europe when it comes to that, and also our southern border, which is now closed?
I personally have not been to Europe yet. I plan on visiting soon, although I'm going to wait until the crime and this invasion. Quite frankly, what we saw, it is a scary thing. Look, New York City, we saw it over the last couple of years under Mayor Adams. They could blame whoever they want. They bust in, or wherever they came from, they got here. We are, for whatever reason, a sanctuary city or state. They don't work with the feds really well. And we ended up putting migrants in 5-star hotels, feeding them, giving them cash, credit cards, debit cards to live, when your own constituents are being taxed and the cost of living into oblivion. And it's not right. What do you think is going to happen? They start using resources such as our sanitation department. The streets become unsanitary. Police, you're not adding police officers when you add thousands of people. And then, I'm a family. My grandparents immigrated here from Italy. They came here. They served in our country. They participated in the small business and our society. These people just come in. They jump the fence illegally, and they take from the people that are still in need. So I don't recommend it to any country, city, state. You got to have law and order. Otherwise, chaos and crime ensues, and it's not safe for our children to go out in the streets and play.
The way you're talking, Robert, is sounding more like a congressman now. Are you ever going to run for office, man? I mean, I know you're the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club. I mean, you may have already run for office. Forgive me if I didn't know that, but are you going to?
No, I have not. And listen, I think my job right now is to really educate. I'm the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club, grow our youth. There's this sentiment out there in the universe that the young minds and the Gen Z and millennials are all into the socialist movement, and it's got momentum. I say no, it doesn't. And I say there's conservatives out there, there's young people out there that don't want to offer their opinions because they're scared. And we need to show them there's a safe place to be. You can talk. You can have different opinion too. You don't always have. We're a big tent. RFK works for the president, and he wasn't a Republican. But common sense, values, and policies, you could come to us and speak it. So my job is to do a job to get those young leaders out there knocking on doors and help elect the next generation of Republican conservative values to our elected offices.
And it's awesome. And people like you there in New York City doing great work for freedom for our country. So always great to have you join us here. Robert Burkhead, the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club. Ideally, next time you're joining us here on Right Side, when I ask, how's New York City doing? I'm hoping it's going to be a better answer, but Mamdani is just not that great, is he?
Listen, we have an election coming up for the governor's race in November, and we are just hoping that and working hard that Bruce Blakeman is going to pull this off, win this, and at least be a stopgap for the mayor's radical policies.
That'd be great to see it. Robert, thank you again for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely awesome stuff there with Robert out there in or on Staten Island. I used to live in New York, and when you'd say Staten Island or Long Island, you're not supposed to say in Long Island or in Staten Island. It's on Long Island or on Staten Island. Anyway, a little bit of regional, local stuff right there. Let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime. We have a number of interviews to get to. Kalshi.com/RSBN is one of them. Of course, when we go to Kalshi, you see all sorts of topics. You can just scroll through them. Politics, elections, sports, weather, the list goes on. Check it out if you'd like, kalshi.com/RSBN. The QR code's right there. The app is available. Or if you go to kalshi.com/RSBN, you also get a little bit of an incentive right there if you do that way. So kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side. You see Cove Pure right there on your screen. Most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. We smell it, we shrug, then we drink it anyway because we've seen and been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are the chemicals that form. Those chemicals are called THMs after it interacts with various particles from soil, plant matter, that kind of thing. So those THMs the government calls probable human carcinogens, they've been linked to disruption of your gut and to cancer. So those pitcher filters that you get at the store, they won't fix this. They simply improve the taste of chlorine by masking it. But THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. They have that clear wave reverse osmosis technology certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So there's all sorts of stuff that's in that tap water that gets taken out because of Cove Pure. It's a sleek new design. Just put it on the counter, plug it in. Don't need to call someone in to install it. You can use the hot, cold, or warm buttons to have that water with a tap of a button. So we're getting a lot of good feedback too. Cove Pure tells us that the viewers have seen a lot of good situations come, specifically literally tasting the difference, as clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. So just go to covepure.com/RSBN, get that $250 off. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. I believe we may have Mike Lindell right there, here live with us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
And thanks for having me on, Matt.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk about it right out of the gate. An update on the campaign. We know that August 11th is around the corner for you as you're running for governor in Minnesota. So can you share with us the latest there?
Well, ever since I got the president's endorsement, they've attacked me and attacked. A lot of it my own party. But what's that manifested to is if you go to the polls like Polymarket, it just keeps getting wider and wider. I think it's 74% on Polymarket. So once again, the people see through the attacks. I'm putting out my budget. And I believe it'll be 2, maybe 3 days. We've been working on it for 6 months. And are you ready for this? If everybody would follow this, if we get it initiated and put in, Minnesota could be the 10th state to be income tax free.
Wow.
For the state income tax. There's 9 other states that have that. That's what I've been pushing for, and it's amazing. We have all the numbers. We've worked on, like I say, 6 months. So, and you see candidates brag, I'm going to lower your income tax. I'm saying I'm going to eliminate your income tax and then show you how we're going to do it. I think that's a lot different than someone just promising and you don't have the goods to back it up. So I'm very excited.
Exactly. And then to your point, 9 other states are already doing it. So you have the model of how it's supposed to work, and then you can implement that there in Minnesota. So you and your the lieutenant governor candidate, as you guys tour the state, as you guys go through your debates and all of that, what's the reception like for you, Mike? Are people showing up and being like, Mike, please win this thing. We don't want Klobuchar in there.
Exactly. And right now we're, this is the Republican primary. When I got the president endorsement, our own Minnesota GOP went against me. The chairman came out and said, we don't need Mike Lindell. He comes with baggage. He's been fighting election fraud. He's an election denier, all these things. And then you have other ones say, well, Mike, the other candidates, well, Mike, it's good Mike got the endorsement because, Donald Trump is not liked here in Minnesota. All these lies that have come out. But here's the reality. People in Minnesota, it's all about affordability. Minnesota is, I believe we're the 3rd worst in the nation now for affordability. We can't afford to live here. Everybody, not some, is saying, some, but most have said, Mike, this is our last chance. If you don't win, we're leaving. We can't afford to live here. And these are corporations too, businesses. We have, I believe it's the highest corporate tax in the nation. We have some of the highest income tax, sales tax, property tax. It's so unaffordable to live here. And a lot of this is because we're a welfare state. And that's not counting all the fraud, Matt, the fraud we have here. But I have real solutions to all of this, being a businessman. You're going to have a very big announcement all week long this week as we put out press releases, and one of them it concerns my pillow, and then also our budget and many things coming out. I think that it should be. Normally, it would be the #1 story, but as you know, the Minnesota media, they try and suppress me or attack so we'll see if they actually come out. We're having our watch party next Tuesday. Of course, I can't even say where that's at because they'd probably go there now to attack.
No, it's smart. It's smart to do that. But when I think of Minnesota, the outdoors, the great outdoors, I think of sports too. The Vikings, to the Minnesota Wild hockey team, the universities there. I mean, there's just a lot going on. So, what is it about Minneapolis? Why is it that we always see these stories there? Is it just because that mayor there is awful and the governor's just awful, but the rest of Minnesota is great? I mean, I don't get.
Well, this is, Minnesota. There's many battles going on here. It's a battle of good and evil that we're in right now. And when I say that, I really mean it. You've got a governor that accepted a satanic statue at our Capitol and said we have to be fair to the devil. We just had a thing come out last week. You guys can look it up. It was 1.5 million allocated to this fall in our children age 4 to 10 get these paper dolls that are getting, you switch the genitals on them, and you guys check it out. It's disgusting. We're a state that we have 5 years ago. If I said ban Sharia law, it was called a racist. Now with all the fraud and I can say ban Sharia law, and it's really gotten. We have Muslims practicing Islam. It doesn't match our Constitution. I could go on and on and on. We had. So, but basically, you have a welfare state here where we're Minnesota nice, and it's manifested to, it's just like a free for all here. And we have over 24 welfare programs, over 400 NGOs, where not only the fraud, but are these programs working, and can you make them better to get a good return on your investment to really help people that need it? And so you'll see when my budget comes out, all these things are getting addressed. There was a big thing in the news. Mike Lindell wants amnesty. That's a lie. I've never wanted amnesty. I never will want amnesty. And this manifested from another problem we have in Minnesota, which is our illegals here, where our governor gave the illegals 54,000 of them ID cards, where it was supposed to say not a citizen, but he gave them these ID cards, and now they're driving on our roads and voting in our elections. This is terrible. And then we have employers in Minnesota. This is nationwide too, but our employers in Minnesota that are employing these illegals illegally, it's like human trafficking, bringing up these illegals, and they're avoiding the income tax in Minnesota and all kinds of tax. Of 1.5 billion to the taxpayers, and they're stealing jobs from our citizens up here that need these jobs. So when I'm going to be doing it, first I had said, we should get them in, fingerprint them, get them in the system. Well, that manifested to Mike wants amnesty. I'm trying to solve a problem here that I'm going to have as governor. And after all that pushback on these things, the easy solution there is you go after these employers, make it a jailable offense, take away their business license so they start employing our citizens rather than committing crimes against not only us taxpayers, but against all the citizens of Minnesota. So I'll be doing that. And people ask me about the illegals that we have. We have 1,400 illegals in Minnesota that are in there for felonies, and we've been housing them at the rate of $110 million a year. I will cooperate immediately with the administration. I come and get them. Get them out of here. It's so nonsensical. I brought this up the other day, and I had news outlets say, well, they should serve their time here and then they go to their countries, because if they get to their countries, they release them. I said, no, they don't. We have deals with the country. They go to prison in their country. Why should we pay them to be in prison here? Go back to their countries. They never are coming back here, and let them sit in those prisons, which I guarantee you are a lot worse than Minnesota prisons, okay? And these people deserve this. So there's a lot of things going on. And but as you know, Matt, the media has attacked me for years and years and years now. And one of the blessings is I'm polling number one, and it's a lot because I think the people see through all the lies and all the attacks. I hate to say, it's very similar to our president. I'm looking at, I helped him in 2016 and 2020 and all those things. I'm going, the media attacking, in a weird way, it kind of helps because the people are going, wow, they're attacking Mike. They obviously don't want Mike in there, or they wouldn't attack me. Or they wouldn't attack me.
Exactly, and we know how the mainstream media and other media outlets work out there. And earlier in this broadcast, I was on with Silk on the phone, and she just goes for it. Talking about 2020 as well. And I wanted to ask you quickly before we stop the interview here is your thoughts about Fauci, the 111 times pleading the fifth, and then on top of that. That whole pandemic led us into the 2020 election fiasco of mail-in ballots. I mean, can you believe we're all sitting here now, years later, being like, wow, this all really happened in America?
Right. And it's I just look at it, everybody, as you look at it from an overall, now we can look back and you say, wow, this couldn't have been planned better by evil than how it was planned. You got the virus, and they put that out there, and then you have all this stuff they did with the elections. Do you know all the stuff that was put in illegal, everybody, like the votes in Michigan where they gave out all the ballots and illegally, and early voting all over the country. Those things needed to be voted in by the legislatures. Instead, the Secretary of States and governors just put them in illegally. And the only attorney general that went and fought that was Ken Paxton in Texas, and he won all 12 cases. Incidentally, only 13 states have went back to where it was before this. So they left all these illegal things in place. Our election platforms, this has been my biggest fight. Everybody knows it. It all comes down to that. They tried to, but I give everybody hope here is, we broke through the biggest cover-up of the biggest potential crime the world has ever seen, and that's taking the United States without firing a shot. And it was our voice. RSBN had, you'd pull one piece out like you guys back then, and the voices we had, it didn't go out. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you have everybody's looking back and seeing this Fauci nonsense. And then you see, look at just the other day, Matt, when the president decertified all the election stuff with Smartmatic. The name Smartmatic was all over that, going back to Venezuela. Everything I said about China interfering, everything I've been saying for 5.5 years, I have a Smartmatic case right here in Minneapolis, and I will let this is first announced on your show to the country. We are going after Smartmatic now. It's kind of like my cousin. In light of the new evidence, here we come. Because they're guilty, and the media just put, when the president decertified that, they just go, oh, they're talking about what he said. No truth in there. No, they didn't bother and go look at what was decertified. But we're not going to let Smartmatic or any other companies do what they did or tried to do in these elections. We've got to get rid of the electronic voting machines once and for all, like 132 other countries. There's a reason they do that. So I'm really excited on all things that are going to be coming. But this Fauci thing, it's just people, don't let it be a deflection, everybody, that, because right now, if you look back, if they hadn't done all that, I look at all the blessings like the fraud in Minnesota, all the things that happened back then that they did to us in our country. If you didn't have that bad, we might have just been sitting here being complacent, and then it would have been too late. I always say the 2020 election, most important election ever, because it's opened people's eyes. That virus, if you don't think that opened people's eyes back then when they did this to our country, This is where we're at. Now we can maybe get people like here in Minnesota, the big chances, giving them hope and going, hey, this is the most critical midterm election in history. And I'm telling that to the whole nation. If we don't win and we don't get this through, everything that we've gotten this far could end up being in vain.
And it will be awful if that's the case. But we'll see what happens, of course, as the momentum's building into the midterm elections less than 100 days from today. And finally, Mike, that night when President Trump did that national primetime address and the mainstream media turned a blind eye, they didn't want to cover it because they didn't want to cover truth. Aren't you glad to know that there is conservative media out there? Like the alternative individual media, where we see some of your reporters out there doing a great job. We're here covering things too. I mean, and there's other networks as well. But isn't it great to have that instead of the same old crap from the mainstream?
Well, exactly. If it wouldn't have been for RSBN and now I have Lindell TV and places like that, you guys, it was over. I'm telling you, it was over. That's when I built Lindell TV was the spring of 21. You guys were basically my only platform back then. We need this because it's not just what's called the fake news. I was very surprised that Fox even covered a little bit of that. And your Newsmaxes of the world. Remember, they are like weather channels that will not talk about hurricanes or tornadoes. I want to tell you guys, if you're watching Newsmax and Fox, they're not going to have me on. They haven't had me on in my run for governor of Minnesota. Think about that. These are our two conservative biggest channels? No, they're not. What are they? I don't get it. I call them either they're the biggest cowards ever, or they're in Fox's case, where it's a, I don't know. Were they, why are they part of it? Why are they being complacent and not wanting to secure our elections or not having me on as running for governor? I mean,
one of the networks back in the day, Mike, you were talking about, this is what's interesting, Mike. You were talking about exactly what President Trump unveiled the other day, declassifying election integrity information. You were on a conservative network, not naming it. You could if you want to. And then the host had to get up and walk away from his chair. I can't do this interview anymore. Come on,
that was
Mike.
the number, and that was the number one story back then, everybody. That was on February 3rd of 2021. Might have been February 4th. But you can look it back, and it was Newsmax. He ripped off this thing because they asked me, they were talking about as I was getting canceled, My Pillow canceling all the box stores, and My Pillow lost their Twitter account. That's what I was on there. Why did you lose your Twitter account? Boy, you got canceled. So I told him, I lost my Twitter account because I'm telling these machines got to go about these voting machines. And then he goes, you can't say that on here because he reads this statement from Newsmax. And you guys think about this. You invite someone on to talk about them losing their My Pillow Twitter account, and then you can't tell why you lost it. Why you lost it? I mean, cancel culture. I won't say anything that rhymes with Dominion or ES&S or Smart Man. It was cancel culture. The next question in a normal interview would be, well, why do you think they would cancel you? Hello? Why do you think they would cancel you? Well, maybe because I'm the only one that has all the evidence for this election, and at that point in time, and I'm not going to back down, and they can keep getting attacked. That's why they're doing it. And it was the most crazy times back then. But you guys, I'm telling you, the two of the most important dates in history, January 7th and 8th, when 1.2 million Americans got deplatformed. If you spoke out against the virus, if you spoke out against the election, or if you spoke up for Jesus Christ, you were grouped into that. Our president lost 100 million followers on Jack Dorsey's crooked Twitter alone. Zuckerberg's Facebook canceled, and those two, Parler was wiped off the face of the earth. But our voice did not go out. It got very small, but like RSBN and others just kept talking and got bigger and bigger, and here we are today. I do want to say one more thing to that. This is breaking news to all. If you go to any of my social media platforms, any one of them, you'll see my pinned thing. Right now, when the president endorsed me, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook stopped. I cannot buy ads for my campaign, and they took away My Pillow's ability to buy ads on Facebook. This is crazy censoring. This is bizarre. It's even worse than what he did back before the 2020 election. In 2020, Facebook said, My Pillow, I couldn't do ads on Facebook unless I took my face out of it, and it was just generic My Pillow. Think about that. But what he's done right now, the people of Minnesota cannot hear about me on there, my policies or anything. He's interfering with a campaign. Mark Zuckerberg, this is disgusting. And if you're watching, or if anybody's watching that has to do with Facebook, we've tried to reach out and say, please let us be on the fair playing field here. But you're also hurting an employee-owned company that has nothing to do with this election other than their CEO is running for governor of Minnesota. So, this is disgusting. He's just damaging My Pillow again and again. So thanks for your audience. And by the way, everybody, use that promo code RSBN. I'll tell you, you get your, and I'm going to do it right now, Matt. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but free shipping on your entire order. That's a nationwide exclusive right now because
And it's
you
always
guys
awesome.
stood behind it.
You know, we have your commercial here too, and I think is it called the Mega Sale 2.0 that's going on right now? Can you tell us about some of your products there in closing?
Yeah, you've got our Giza Dream sheets as low as $29.98, I believe. You've got our towel sets, the towels that actually work. You guys, it's $39.98. I'm just trying by memory here. Our pillows, our flagship pillows, the premium line pillows, we sold over 85 million. You got the queen size, I believe, $18.98. King size, I believe, $19.98. But something we're adding that no one else gets is for that promo code, you're getting free shipping on your entire. The beds, our mattresses and mattress toppers. Our mattresses, everybody, 50% off our mattresses. So the lowest price in history and free shipping. Shipping's expensive right now. It's right to your front door. Comes in a box, easy to set up. 6-month money back guarantee and 10-year warranty. Be the best sleep of your life. So
Mike,
there's so many products.
How I'm listening to you here, and I'm thinking you're running for governor. You have your own TV network. You have MyPillow. You have so many things going on. How when you wake up, do you have a list? Like, how do you do this?
It's the grace of God, and that'll be another big announcement coming because I want to devote 100% of my time to the state of Minnesota for governor. So you will see that press release out in about a day or so. A little hint there, right? But yeah, it's been you guys. I will say this. Lindell TV is publicly traded under Mike Lindell Media Corp. Those guys amazing. I don't have to worry about them, right? They say they're doing a great job, and everyone sees Allison and Kara running around the White House and the Pentagon. But but for MyPillow, and I'll tell you this: when the president, he was the first one I called that I even talked about, other than my wife, about running for governor. And I said, I'm thinking about running for governor, but I said, we're going to pray about it. But I said, MyPillow has to be secure. It's the most attacked company in the history by our own government and by lawfare. And I said, if they're not secure, I can't do it because I love my employees. I love my, company and everything. And so that happened about December, where we came out where it's secure, but to be able to navigate, it took a lot of time, and it's been less and less now, where I have a great team at MyPillow that they've been able to, it's kind of like, hey, getting you through all these, the biggest attack ever, and guiding them through as, leading the way. But yet the team that's been here, we have careers here, and they're here. They fought through the storm, so they'll be able to do just fine as I put in 100% of my time for the governor of Minnesota.
Exactly.
And, but Matt, I couldn't do it without this, everybody. I get up every day and I spend time in the Word, praying with my wife, and have God. We pray for time thieves. I mean, you gotta really segregate. And you know me, Matt, you've known me for years. I can get sidetracked, and I love telling stories. I love no matter who I've been. So I've had people say, you got to condense it. We've got a busy schedule.
No, I mean, and the thing is I remember just you talked to the reporters. I remember at AmFest, my wife and I were there, and the New York Times reporter was there, and all these people, and you will take the time. But the thing about you is that authenticity. You actually care about what you're talking about.
Right.
It's like you're already successful. You're already famous. You don't really need all that extra. But you're there when the lights go off. I was there personally, saw you do that, and then the people want to take a photo with you, and you take the time for all that. So that's what's cool about Mike Lindell, in my opinion.
Well, thank you.
So
and I do. You're not going to see me no matter what it gets, and that's why I tell people when I'm governor. They go, well, I'll bet we won't be able to reach you then. I said, well, no, I think every media out in the world has my direct phone number, and I take each and every call, and over 300 to 500 of my employees have my direct number. You know me, Matt, I'll be the most reachable governor probably in history. And a lot like our president, he's been the most reasonable president, the most transparent, and that's where I'll be. And that, which will also work to my advantage, everybody, as far as they said, well, Mike, if you get in, how are you going to work with the Republicans and Democrats legislators to get stuff pushed through? I have such common sense solutions. If it's blocked, I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican, the whole state of Minnesota, the people will know, hey, they're blocking this common sense solution that will help us all. Shame on them. Let's and then call them out and get them out of here. So
yeah, definitely
anyway.
through that voting process. And speaking of voting, August 11th, everybody, the primary election in the state of Minnesota. Mike Lindell running for governor. Mike, thanks again for spending time with us. We'll talk to you later.
And in fact, I want to add one more thing, you guys. If you want to help my campaign, I know a lot of people have been texting me at lindellgov.com, lindellgov.com, and watch for it in 2 days. You're going to see a budget put out. And if I don't care what state you're in, you're going to go, wow, we should be doing this in our state. It's stuff, a lot of things have not been done before, but there's proof of concept, and it's going to be pretty amazing. So anyway, thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Mike, so much. Great time talking with Mike Lindell, of course, running for governor in Minnesota. August 11th is that primary election day. And as he mentioned, there are a number of press releases that will be out this week, news surrounding Mike. And he said My Pillow. He said a number of things. So we'll be watching that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side. All Family Pharmacy. Of course, being prepared is something Americans have always understood. We prepare our homes before a storm. We prepare our finances for the unexpected. So why wouldn't we prepare our medicine cabinet the same way? That's one of the reasons so many families are choosing All Family Pharmacy. They've made it easier than ever to find the prescription medications you need. Instead of searching only by medication name, you can actually now search by the medical condition itself. So whether you're dealing with a sinus infection, respiratory illness, or you're simply looking for your everyday maintenance medications, All Family Pharmacy helps point you toward the treatment options commonly used for those conditions. Everything is reviewed by licensed U.S. physicians and pharmacists, so you can feel confident you're getting trusted information. Just complete a secure medical form, and if appropriate, one of their licensed physicians will provide your prescription. Then your medication is shipped to your door. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code. Get 10% off at checkout. 561-717-6794. Talk to a real person right there with All Family Pharmacy. 561-717-6794. Some great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And joining us now is the Associate Editor for MRC Business, Joseph Vasquez. Thanks so much for joining us, Joseph, and thanks for hanging tight on standby there for us, man. Woo.
Hey, no problem, my friend. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show again, man. I remember we've interviewed, had a talk back a lot of times over the past several years, it seems. So what's the latest from your neck of the woods in the sense of the stories that you've been seeing and covering and some of the reaction? I know we might have to get to Fauci too, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, has everyone heard of this term, being circulated in the media ecosphere? You heard of Project 2029, which is kind of the left's answer to the conservative policy handbook Project 2025. Well, we found Soros's fingerprints in that whole initiative, and it was actually in the frame of this 155-page document that was edited by the Roosevelt Institute, and it was a collection of essays that was authored by a cohort of former Biden administration officials, policy experts, you name it, all from the left. And the Roosevelt Institute was the editing brains behind that whole thing. And the Roosevelt Institute, I think, has received over $6 million from George Soros within a few years. And the whole purpose of it is to insert a climate change angle to the Project 2029 policy framework. Their goal is to make climate change a selling point with voters. And so it promotes everything from green statecraft, and it believes that the politics is ripe for anti-status quo action. As a matter of fact, the primary editor of this whole document, the Roosevelt Institute Director for Industry and Trade, Todd Tucker, told E&E News, which is a subsidiary of Politico, he told them this, quote, "We sort of see this as the first step of injecting this into the bloodstream," end quote. And one of the policy proposals is to use Trump's agenda and repurpose it for the left. So, for example, if you will take a look at President Trump's purchase of shares in companies like Intel. So the left sees that and wants to say, oh, let's try to repurpose that for the government to buy shares in climate-focused companies as well. So give government a voice in corporate policy. Now, this report went completely under the radar. No one covered it. But this is exactly what the left wants to do. And the thing is, Soros himself had spent, I think we did an analysis last year with the Bongino report. We found out that Soros had spent at least about $618 million towards buying an eco-utopia for himself because it comports with his dark open society worldview. So now Roosevelt Institute is kind of channeling the same kind of language that Soros used. Todd Tucker says it's a matter of injecting this into the bloodstream. And, and this sounds like when Soros said that the COVID-19 pandemic was providing a, quote, revolutionary moment for political change. I mean, you could see the symmetry between the two, entities, whether it be Roosevelt Institute or whether it be Soros's Open Society Foundations. But this is exactly what Soros wants, and all of his grantees operate underneath that Soros regime framework. So this is what the left is doing. Project 2029 is dangerous. It is it's Orwellian, you name it. It is about extremist as it can be. And with inflation going to the degree that it is, if the government starts purchasing shares and all of these companies that are climate focused, oh my God, I don't even want to think about what the economy would do if this thing was ever enacted.
Well, on top of that, then I see that this Democrat Socialists of America, DSA, and this Marxist United Party. Again, I've been talking about this a little bit today because I'm still like, wait a minute. There's an X account. There are thousands of people on it, not millions or anything, but that they're talking about these socialist, communist things for our country.
Of course.
And one of them said, I watched some of the videos. He's like, yeah, we're thinking AOC as our, the leader of this party in 2028 and 2029, 30. I mean, like, absolutely insane. Your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, let's take a look at New York City. You just had the former president of the Staten Island Republicans on. Well, look at Zoran Mamdani. He's backed by what? He's a group called the Working Families Party, which is pretty much one of those crazy groups that is aligned with the DSA. They promote all the socialist communist things that you can imagine. Soros funds them, by the way. I mean, figure that one out.
That's true.
But but the thing is, it's amazing, when you see a lot of these communist socialist rhetoric that just gets spewed out into the political ether. But then when reality comes to head, you could see them renege on a lot of those socialist promises. Like apparently, I saw reporting that Mamdani apparently is going to be requiring ID for the city-owned grocery stores that he's planning on enacting into place in New York City. Now, what I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so he thinks that people are more likely to steal food than vote illegally in our elections. You can't have voter ID for elections. No, that's disenfranchising. But oh no, we need to have ID for people to buy from a city-owned grocery store. I mean, make it make sense to me. I mean, you want to talk about election fraud?
No,
I mean,
clear.
No, exactly. So I mean, it's the whole thing is nonsensical. Communism is in itself a blatant contradiction. The guy who was like the icon of the communist movement, Karl Marx, he himself was a rich guy. I mean, he was a part of the very bourgeoisie class that he was condemning. Right. And then we see every other leftist going to these ridiculous cocktail parties, or you see these leftists from Hollywood going to these climate summits on yachts and planes, gas-guzzling, jet fuel-spewing planes, right, to give us a lecture, give the world a lecture about climate change. This is what the left does. This is what communism is. So Zoran Mamdani is just emphasizing, it's the latest textbook case of the complete contradiction of communism. Yeah, it's all fun and games and cocktail parties until you actually have to make these policies work. And the problem is that when the government sticks its nose into anything having to do with the economy, it always goes belly up. So I mean, it's not even disputable at this point. You want historical evidence? The list is endless. You just need to go back to the 20th century, look at all these communist countries that have instituted these kinds of policies, and see what happened as a result of that. And guess what? So you're going to try to reinstitute this very same thing in these, like in the United States, with these governors and these mayors trying to institute these radical policies from the ground up instead of from the top down from the federal government. And you think that that's somehow going to work? Right. Yeah, I'd like to see you try.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing out there. People think they're going to really win with those kind of awful policies. We see a lot going on right now, and you think of the word communism, you're like, oh, communism in the United States, that's not going to happen. But we have a communist socialist mayor in New York, the same all the way across the country in Seattle. We see that there are these groups that are trying to, what I think about when it comes to Republicans, Democrats, the whole uniparty thing, not saying that every Republican is a Democrat, not that. But without the R&D title, a lot of people with the mask off are probably socialist communists that want to crush our country. Like the Democrats, they call themselves a Democrat. I'm a moderate Democrat, but deep down they're like, I love when there's destruction like this. It's awful stuff, don't you think?
Well, here's the thing, is like these lefty moderates that are trying to distance themselves from the DSA, you know what I tell them? Screw off. You were fomenting this thing since time immemorial. It's why we got Obamacare in the first place. You were peddling all that universal basic income stuff. My mother, I have a personal beef to pick with Obamacare because my mother suffered as a result of that. She's a cancer survivor, right? And when she had to go onto the Obamacare plan, she ended up getting removed from her treatment, and she had to find another doctor. So that was hell for us. So we were we directly experienced the fallout from that whole thing. But it's like the left created this kind of cesspool for these kinds of extremists to like bubble up to the surface. And now they're pretending, oh my gosh, we're not crazy like those guys. Get over yourself. You fostered this environment. And now we're at the Media Research Center having to watch as all of these lefties are just coming out and saying the quiet part out loud, the stuff that the Democrats have been pushing and the left have been pushing for years, which is universal basic income, which is open borders, which is all this, these crazy government programs, the waste and fraud that you saw from USAID, and all the, I think I saw one grant, don't quote me on this, but I think it was around $7 million for the African Elephant Conservation Fund, as if that's something that taxpayer dollars should be worried about. But this is what the left has done. And so now they're trying to play, we're not like those crazies at the Democratic Socialists of America. Please.
If there's somebody that's watching right now, if there's somebody watching right now and they're on the fence and they're like, they kind of like an RFK Jr., he was Democrat, but now he's, Republican pretty much, right? Listening to you, if I was a voter and I was kind of like, I don't know which way to go, I'm like, this guy's making sense. Because you're spitting truth. So I know who they're going to vote for in the midterms, somebody on the right side of history. You know what I mean? And this is why I believe what we're doing right now, the information war, which it is, it's an information war of all this stuff, who to believe, who to trust, who's right, who's wrong, who's representing the people and who's not, and all the things. So that's why I like talking about this stuff, because we know the mainstream media won't. Final word, Joseph.
You had CBS, I think CBS News host Margaret Brennan, I think, asking former Senator Joe Manchin, would you be okay voting for a socialist candidate if they have some good ideas? I wanted to like jump off a cliff the moment that I heard that. Yeah. I said, you're literally sitting in a studio that was produced by free market capitalism, and you're talking about socialism having good ideas? What do you think your parent company is? It's a private company. Right? It's a product of capitalism. It's what pays your paycheck, right? So it's easy for you to sit up there and then start spewing this stuff about socialism for a national audience, but when push comes to shove, it's the plebeians that got to suffer from the policies that you institute. It's the American citizens in multiple states. You just had Mike Lindell on in Minnesota, right? Who are going to be stuck with the bill for this. While you're having your cocktail parties, the rest of us are struggling to make ends meet.
There you go. Mic drop by Joseph Vasquez right there. That is exactly right. And that's the thing. What you're saying is resonating with countless Americans across this country. Where can people follow your work, sir?
You can follow me on newsbusters.org at the MRC business page. I'm following Soros. I mean, look, he's the #1 midterm donor. We're talking about the midterm elections. He's already the #1 donor. It didn't matter. He's apparently not taking retirement too good, so he decided to get involved again. He already spent, I think, about $102 million. So I'm tracking his spending, along with all the media's distorted covering about business economics in the United States. You can follow me on X at JV3MRC. I'm always posting.
and also Soros' son as well, I'm sure, out there. Is it Alex or whatever his name is? So
don't even get me started. The more political son. I mean, the funny thing is about Soros, is that we originally thought at the Media Research Center that he was going to follow up on his commitment, I think, to shut down the Open Society Foundations once he died, because he's that much of a narcissist. He doesn't believe that anyone else can run the OSF better than him. So when his son was announced the crown prince of his $25 billion empire, immediately I thought, what kind of godlike missions did Alex have to do in order to prove to his father that he can handle the political wrecking ball that is the Open Society Foundations? And that terrifies me.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. I remember Hillary Clinton talking about that Society Foundation back on old clips of C-SPAN back in the day. Oh, man. Don't get me started now.
We'll be here all day, my friend.
I know. We would, if this was a podcast, we'd be here for another 3 hours.
Let's do it.
I know, right? We might have to. Joseph Vasquez, the Associate Editor for the Media Research Center Business. Thank you so much, Joseph, for stopping by, and good to see you again, sir.
Thanks, Matt. You have a good day.
You too. Thanks, man. Well, there you go. And that's the thing. We have people that, tell it like it is here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors in the meantime. MyPillow.com. You just saw Mike Lindell. If you're just joining us now, Mike was on earlier. You can always replay a little bit if you'd like. MyPillow.com/RSBN. I still can't get over the fact that the Giza Dream Sheets are under $30. You might want to grab a pair or a sheet or whatever. You know what I mean. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Great products. RSBN promo code. Mike said just a little bit ago that it's free shipping if you use the RSBN promo code. So that's pretty cool stuff as well. If you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Well, it is now probably time to end the broadcast. Director, are we good? I think we are at this point. Well, thank you so much for watching this live stream broadcast. For all of us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.